Hello, it's answering comments number, I don't know actually, is it 6? Not sure. Starting off with, what the hell am I starting off with? I'm starting off with YouTube layout, December 2012. My thoughts. A billion comments, well, 145 anyway, comments, and I'm not actually going to answer individual comments, because what this amounts to is a lot of people agree with everything I said, and a lot of people don't. Here's the thing. What I've gained from this, what I've learned, was, and in fact I knew this anyway, not everyone browses in the same way. Not everyone uses YouTube in the same way. So while I said I didn't really have a problem with it, it worked fine for me. Everything I wanted to do, it did. There were some minor annoyances. I'd found workarounds for them. But for lots of people, they browse in a different way to how I do. I imagine I browse in the way the makers of YouTube would like us to browse. But anyway, lots of people don't. They have their own ways of doing things. And so for them, a lot of the stuff on here is broken. I get that. And I think those who said things along those lines made very good points. And I can't disagree with any of them. Yeah, the new layout is definitely not for everyone. And there's the thing, every time YouTube makes a new layout, people have to adapt how they work to fit in with it. And for some people, that is just a pain in the arse. And I totally understand, it's bloody annoying. So yeah, while it was easy for me to say, yeah, you know, they've changed it all, but it's not that different, what's the problem? That's just because it suited how I work. And I do get that it doesn't work for how everyone works. One of the things that was pointed out on a fairly regular basis is that if you, and here's a thing as well, I still don't have that new layout on my main account. I only have it on my Isambard Montague account. But a problem that lots of people have is they go to the home page and then they've got to click on my subscriptions and then they've got to click on uploads only, and it doesn't keep that. It doesn't keep those settings. However, what you can do, which plenty of other people have said, is, well, just bookmark that page because it gives you a new URL. When you click my subscriptions and then you click uploads only, you've got a new URL. Bookmark that. Put that in your either your bookmarks or your menu bar thing at the top. I personally don't do that because I don't use the home screen. I just go straight to the subscriptions page, you know, where you click the menu on the top right and go to subscriptions. That's where I start every time. I don't use the home page. But, you know, for those who want to, just select the options you want. My subscriptions, uploads only, bookmark that. Problem relatively solved. But yeah, I do get there's a whole load of other crap that won't work for you, depending on how you browse. Lots of good comments left by lots of people, but so many are saying the same thing that I'm just not going to answer them individually for that particular video. Right, what do we got next? Sunday Speakie. Multi-function consoles, least favourite console, and better gamer as a child. Is it? Oh my God, is that the last thing Normally I do 2 of these a week, these answering comments videos, but I didn't do one during the week this week, so I'm kind of playing catch up now. How the hell do you pronounce this? Hiroshiyo. The thing that bothers me most about the firmware update is how they keep eating away at my precious storage space. Yeah, I have noticed that. I've noticed that on the PS3. I noticed that mostly on my iPhone. I've got a 3GS, and every time they update the firmware and update the software that I've installed and whatnot, I'm getting less and less space. I'm having to start deleting stuff. I have no more programs than when I started. I have fewer programs than when I started, but I have less space. It's crap. It annoys me. So yeah, I completely agree with you. Oh yeah, Longrodvonhugendon. Yeah, I'm pronouncing the G there that isn't there. All the related videos are for car sales. Is this YouTube or Auto Trader? Yeah, that is an interesting one. I think it's because in the description I mention SVT512. I think that's a car of some kind. Is it an American pickup truck or something? I think that's what that was all about. And YouTube has just picked up on that and thought, okay, this video is about cars. And then they put a lot of videos from, I don't know, car salesmen. It's not clever. Ah, okay. Multigrab1982 says, am I observant or making a mistake? Is there a space next to the Virtual Boy where there wasn't there before? No, you're very observant and not making a mistake. It was the Vectrex. Because the Vectrex was in my games room because I was making Vectrex gameplay videos. So that's what the gap was, yeah. ZackAttack89 says, NES or Master System used to be your least favourite systems. I mean, the Master System didn't have the biggest library and the NES was not very powerful, but there are loads of great games on the Master System and the NES has got a bucket load. I don't understand that one. I did a video, in fact I've done more than one video explaining my reasons why I'm not into them, and it is all about my age and how old I was and where I was in terms of gaming at the time that they came out. When the NES hit the market in the UK had already got a very, very healthy gaming market, which was home computers. Spectrums, Commodore 64s, Amstrads, Acorn Electron, BBC Micro, loads of them, and had been around for quite a while, and very healthy games market. And the Amiga was out as well, just out. I mean, it was still expensive at that time, but that made these 8-bit consoles look silly. They were barely any more powerful than the ColecoVision, which had been out way before then. So it's like, okay, here you can have these computers that cost a bit, but you can buy cheap software for them and do lots of other stuff too. Or you can buy this cheap shitty console that's kind of like a 5-10-year-old console, and the games are going to cost you a fortune. I took one look at that and thought, that's stupid. And that feeling stuck with me for a long while. They were certainly more important in the US than the UK, but the US didn't have our computer gaming market. So to me, they were a nonsense. And though I can look at them now and think, yeah, the games on them are better than the games that were available on the computers at that time, it just didn't matter. The feeling of distaste and are they taking us for a ride that they think we're stupid stuck with me. So yeah, while I'm not so anti-NES and Master System as I used to be, I'm still like, not really into them. Simon Willerton says, hey Steve, Valve have said they're going to make a rumoured Steambox PC console. What are your thoughts about it? It sounds very interesting. I thought I'd actually mentioned that in this video. I may be wrong. Maybe I mentioned it in the next... What was the next video about? No, I didn't mention it in this one, did I? I mentioned it in the next one. I'm unsure about it. I mean, from what I gather, it's kind of going to be a PC in a small box, download only. I guess the idea is, unlike a PC, you're working with defined hardware, so the compatibility issues will be out the window and the developers can concentrate on maximizing the effectiveness of the hardware. I don't know. I'm not... It kind of doesn't interest me, I think, and I would need to see what it does. I'd need to see what it looks like. I need something specific about it other than that they're doing it. If there's specific information out there, I don't know what it is. I haven't gone looking. It all sounds a little bit vaporware-ish at the moment, so I'm kind of not paying a lot of attention. From CholoCPC, everything is just going into mandatory digital lately. Like they expect my granddad to be able to register his income online only. And we are talking about a guy who listens to the radio instead of watching TV. The large firmware game updates is outrageous as well. Can't expect everyone has both the cash and the knowledge. Router and a PC to configure isn't cheap and rarely easy. Don't forget there is still remote areas in rich countries that don't have the internet connection either. Yeah, you're quite right. For them to be going so digital only, I think is blinkered. I think they're excluding a lot of people. I mean, the internet, our broadband connection here is not fast. I mean, we're supposedly getting 5 meg per second or whatever, but it's not reliable. And if you've got a 5 gig download for a firmware update, like your very first firmware update, it's stupid. I understand it's viable for people who've got the super fast fibre optic, fine, no problem, but that's so limited. we can't get it here. I'd love it, but can't get it. And lots of people can't get it. They're being blinkered, and it's not clever. Writer's Rain says, Steve, talking about updates, do you do your PC Windows updates? I never have, mainly because of quota issues. Plus, I know people who take all day to get their machines the way they want them afterwards. Yeah, I do the Windows updates, not quite as quickly as it would like me to. I once upon a time had it set to do them automatically, and then it would start doing really aggravating things like rebooting when it had finished downloading and installing it, and that was not acceptable to me because I would have a video rendering. I used to leave videos rendering all night, or a video uploading. And when you've got your computer working on something important, the last thing you want is your computer deciding on its own that it's going to download an update and then reboot. So I don't let it do that anymore. I think that, and that was the default setting on Windows XP, and that was disgraceful. They never should have done that. So yeah, I do update it regularly, but I do it manually. You know, it tells me there's an update and I download it and install it when I'm good and ready. Trusteft says, it takes 3 days to download 4 to 5 gig, or it's not broadband. You should talk to your ISP about the speeds. Trust me, I've got the fastest speed my ISP can give me. The reliability is shite, and I blame them for that. But the speed, we don't have the infrastructure. The right kind of cables are not coming into my street, so I can't get anything faster from this ISP or any other, which is a pain in the arse. I was thinking, say you have a console from the 80s or 90s which you never used or not used much. You want to play now, play games on it now, no problem. Will it be the same for the PS3 and 360? I have my doubts. I agree with you completely. There are so many things now, and I mean, even if you've got the disc and you can install it, you can't get, you won't, in like a few years time, you won't be able to get all the extra downloadable stuff or whatever, and some games you just won't be able to play them, especially like consoles where it's download only. I mean, there are already games, what is it, the Sega Outrun Coast to Coast that they had as a download only. You can't get that now. I've got it on my PS3, but if you haven't already got it, you now can't get it. And that's the kind of thing that I hate about all this download only stuff. In the future, yeah, it's really, you're going to be very limited. And I mean, think about a PSP Go. You buy one of them in the future as a second-hand thing, you ain't going to be able to put anything on it. Whatever's on it will be all you get. It's not clever. gollumondrugs says, I think Nintendo copied the Gamecom for the Wii U. Yeah, I think Nintendo copied the Gamecom for the DS. But there is some design features of the DS kind of in the design philosophy of the Wii U, in that having 2 screens thing. But there's not a whole lot of Gamecom in there. Though, I mean, touch screen, yeah, I guess. cessnaace says, you moved the steering wheel controller that was over your shoulder. If that's actually what it was. It kind of looked like a Genesis Mega Drive with a round thing on top. No, I know you asked this question earlier, and I don't know what video that was in, but I haven't answered that video. Something, anyway, no, the steering wheel controller is for the ColecoVision. It's the module, I don't know if it's module 1 or module 2, but anyway, it's a ColecoVision steering wheel. OwtDaftUK says, for me the whole point of a console is simplicity in comparison to PCs. So the more complex they get, the less I like them. I do know exactly what you mean there. Yeah, the simplicity is going out the window, and they're getting to be so you need to be a computer whiz to use a games console, where it used to be you just had to stick a cartridge in, turn it on, and away you go. Yeah, they are. I like a lot of the extra functionality, but they are getting very overcomplicated. Bravo20007 says, Netflix is a lot better than LoveFilm. Really? That's not what I've heard. I suppose it depends what you're watching. Where are you? In the UK? From what I hear, it's got better TV shows, but not many films. I don't know. We have LoveFilm, and it's got TV shows, but not as many as I would like. Films, it's got plenty, and I watch lots. I guess since we've got it, we're sticking with it. Don't want both. Don't know. I can't really have a fair opinion since I haven't got Netflix. DLiberator78 says, to be honest, one of the problems with the PlayStation 3 is any game or firmware update takes ages. Yes, I completely agree. The 360 updates, while also mandatory, are much quicker. I had heard that. I still agree with you though, it's a pain in the arse having to update a game as soon as you play it. I do like the fact you can use consoles for watching DVD, Blu-ray and catch-up TV, if that's your bag, but sometimes this can detract from the gaming. I don't know if that detracts from the gaming. I suppose it depends on who is developing the software to do it. I mean, Blu-ray, DVD, that I don't think that detracts from the gaming at all, because it's just like a built-in feature. Catch-up TV, the developers who are developing the apps to do that, I don't think are games developers, so I don't think that detracts from the gaming. But having those things dump icons all over your menu bar when you're not using them, that's pissy, and I dislike that. 01tech2teach. You should open your own retro museum and charge people to come and have a looky. Yeah, no. I don't like people. That would be my idea of hell. I wouldn't want to have to deal with the public in any way whatsoever. No, that's just never going to happen. I mean, I like sharing it in as much as I like making videos about them and stuff like that. That's as much as I'm ever going to do. PieEater163. Why was the NES and Master System one of your least favourite game systems? I answered that already, so if you missed it, go back a bit in the video. I agree with the Gamecom, but why NES and... yeah, answered that. Why not CDI or Atari 5200? Well, we didn't get the 5200 over here, so I have never used one, so it's like, I don't care. CDI, I find the CDI quite interesting, and it was trying to do something different, where the Master System and the NES were just trying to flog old technology at inflated prices. Nah. Blue Patch 11 says, I hope mums and dads update their kids' Wii U before Christmas Day, or there's going to be some crying. Thank the hackers for all the updates, or the companies for wanting their machines jail locked. Yeah, very, very good point. Anyone buying a Wii U for their kids for Christmas absolutely should update it beforehand. And I wonder how many will know about that enormous patch. Definitely something to do before giving it as a present. I mean, yeah... Do you blame the hackers, or do you blame the companies for wanting to keep the systems closed? I don't know. I mean, it used to be that, well, alright, back in the 8-bit days, the Atari, I don't think people hacked that then, and there was no inclination to do that. But we kind of got used to being able to do stuff on our hardware with the 8-bit computers. We were able to program them, well, I say we, I wasn't much, but you know, people got used to having open systems, and then they were closed again when the things like the Master System and the NES came out. There's part of why I dislike them. And they've stayed closed ever since, for the most part. The Amiga was open, but then the Mega Drive was closed, and the SNES and all that. Yeah, who do you blame? Can you blame the hackers? Because they will have been used to open systems. I don't know, actually. It's a very good question. I don't know what the answer is to that. It's certainly one to ponder. From Austin Powers Pinball on the PS1. Polaventris says, I kind of like this game, although the table is quite messy. Reminds me of Pinball Fantasies on Amiga, which is actually available on the PS1 too. Yeah, I've got it on my PS1. I think Pinball Fantasies is a lot better than this. It just looks better, plays better. It's all round better. Fawltykog says, got tinnitus 24/7, had it for countless years. All that heavy metal, standing by the speakers at concerts, etc. is not the best thing to do. Anyway, the game is balls. Shagadelic, baby. Yeah. My tinnitus is gradually going away now, but I know what you mean about standing next to speakers. I didn't go to heavy metal concerts, but I went to a lot of concerts in my late teens, early 20s, and I stood right by the PA system, and my hearing is now not nearly what it would have been if I hadn't done that. I should say, several people did point out to me that Mike Myers, who played the, what's-his-face, Austin Powers is Canadian. Yeah, I did realise my mistake after making the video, but before uploading, and I did put a big subtitle in there, really big subtitle at the bottom, saying, yeah, okay, he's Canadian, not American. But it seems that quite a few people didn't actually notice a whopping great big subtitle down the bottom saying, yes, he's Canadian. Granted, some people just listen and don't watch when I do stuff like this, so I understand how that happened, but come on, it was a gameplay video, you should be watching. Anyway, Dexter Riley says, I don't like Austin Powers either, but I don't think of them as being a stereotype of English people, but just making fun of spy movie cliches. Blame Guy Ritchie for putting English stereotypes into American pop culture. Yeah, I suppose I haven't seen enough of this film to know whether it was taking the piss out of the English or just spy film culture. I mean, I see it as taking the piss out of James Bond, which is, so it is a combination of like spy movie and English stereotypical stuff. I still see it as an awful example of what an English person is supposed to be like, but yeah, you make a fair point. BRowland1 says, glad you agree that Rowan Atkinson's best work was Blackadder and not the 9 o'clock news. The latter was before my time, you young pup. But I developed a fondness for Britcoms in my teens and caught up on all of them. Are you partial to a bit of Fry and Laurie by any chance? I wasn't, then I wasn't. I like Stephen Fry in QI. I like Hugh Laurie in House. I don't like much of what they did between this the recent stuff and the first, probably the first series of a bit of Fry and Laurie. I liked the first series, and then it got a bit up its own arse. They seemed to be a little bit, oh, we're so clever, and I didn't like that. It annoyed me. I like Alas, Smith and Jones from that era. Alas, Smith and Jones were more my cup of tea, and like comic strip. I like that sort of stuff. They were a little bit too posh, so I went off them. Okay, from Pro-Pinball, fantastic journey. From Cheetahman92, looks a lot better than the Austin Powers one, as in it looks like a PS1 game as opposed to a jumbled mess. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Also, have you tried True Pinball on the PS1? That one actually has 4 tables instead of 1. No, I haven't. I'm wondering actually if I played that on the 3DO. I played a pinball game on the 3DO, but it was crap. So maybe it's not the same thing. I should check. AtsumaKarin says, you're going to have to tell me when you're online so I can appear in one of your vids. I'm jealous of that Will Graham 13 guy. He always seems to appear while you're recording. Yeah, him and several others actually. I kind of like it when people do appear on my screen while I'm doing stuff on my PlayStation, PS3, whatever. You know, people log on and log off and whatnot. It makes me chuckle because they're, I'd say, being immortalised, but it's like free shout-out. There they are, beyond my control. paulspydar says, have you tried pinball on the CDI? I'm not sure how many there are, but the one I have is very imaginatively called Pinball. Well, I do like things that are called what they are. I have a cat called Cat. But no, I haven't tried it. I don't know if I've got it. I've got a few CDI games that I haven't tried yet, so I shall have to have a look. Gabbogabbo says, looks pretty good. When it comes to video game pinball, I actually prefer a more top-down view. I'm not sure why, but when playing a game like this, where you can't physically walk around the table, I feel as if I can't see what the table looks like or what's going on. Sound effects sounded great. Well done. Thank you. I know what you mean. I like the top-down view that you get with Pinball Fantasies and Pinball Dreams. And there are 3 different views on this game, and I did try them all. And actually this was the best view. The other one seemed, though you could see more, you kind of got a clearer view of the table, it was smaller. It was like the camera had moved out so that it could fit it all on the screen, but it made it smaller and actually harder to play. So yeah, while I know what you're talking about and what you mean, and in some games I agree entirely, on this game it doesn't work. Benjamin Edge says, I wonder if you've played the Rescue 911 pinball machine yet, Steve. No, I haven't. Never heard of it actually. I don't play real pinball. pinball tables. I'm rubbish at them. So, and I don't go out to places that would have such things anyway. And if that's a game on a games console, no idea, never heard of it. Gamesbloke says, I like this. Only thing for me is, when this came out, it was, in my mind, what? It was not really good value for money. Yeah, I quite agree. These days, that's not really a problem, I suppose. Psycho Pinball on the Mega Drive is something I got a kick out of personally. I've done a video of that, I think. Pinball Fantasy is Stones and Bones. I'm there for ages. Yes, that's probably the best table on... No, not on... was that on Fantasies or Dreams? Can't remember. Anyway, I like Partyland. Have to say it looks quite good, though. Also, very quickly, appreciate the race driving Saturn footage. Question: does this title have video modes, like mini games using the scoreboard? If it does, I'm unaware of them. What you've seen is the limit of my gaming experience of this pinball game. I ain't got a clue. Okay, also from gamesbloke. Oh, and visual pin MAME rules. Cool. No experience with it whatsoever. Yeah, I can't add anything to that. I don't know anything about it. I'm probably not inclined to try it either. I like pinball games on consoles and stuff, but I'm like MAME and stuff like that. I use MAME for playing arcade games that I've played in the arcades, but I don't think I would want to tinker with such a thing to play pinball. Croooow111 says, no mention of the pinball arcade. I don't know what you're talking about. Is there some other option on this disc that I missed? I don't know anything about it. I just played that table and that's all I know. Because that's what I do. I stick the disc in and I record the video, and what I see is what I say, and don't know nothing about it. Okay then. Friday Talkie. This week's Friday Talkie. Which was possible future for gaming. What is your Steam nick? Benway78. If I remember rightly. Can't remember if it's a capital B or if it even matters, but I'm pretty sure it's Benway68. That was from LiveToby. PureSox333 says, I wonder what the feasibility of creating a console that has a setup for 8-bit, 16-bit and 32-bit onward, and that would create games produced with the restrictions and charm of each of those categories. The cost for each would vary from each category. 8-bit does not need as many developers, so productions would be less costly. So it could be reached at a cheaper price, and so on up. This would be helpful to programmers learning to be efficient. That? Yes. I mean, they could achieve the 8-bit, 16-bit, 32-bit systems without actually having 8-bit, 16-bit and so on hardware, because they could achieve it through emulation and have a separate kind of development environment for each. It could be argued that things like the Raspberry Pi, well, even PCs, do that already with emulators. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I don't think it would work on a commercial level. At a hobbyist level, it's kind of already being done, because you'll get people who are already programming for 8-bit and 16-bit emulators and just distributing them for free, largely. I don't see that as being commercially viable, but I'm not in the industry, so I might not know what I'm talking about. TheArmchairEmpire says, I'm a bit on the fence about tablet gaming. The touchscreen isn't great for games that need precision controls, but would work just fine for most strategy games and RPGs. I don't mind those genres, but most of the ones that come to tablets just seem so ho-hum and disposable compared to what I could be playing on a console, handheld or PC. Yes, no, I completely agree. I dislike anything that needs a touchscreen, and yes, it is suited to some types of game, but I'm not interested in those games. I don't give a damn about them. Which is why I like that Arcos thing with the built-in D-pad and joypads and buttons and stuff. I like that. And I think for gaming on tablets, those kind of real proper controls are necessary. And if the Arcos thing takes off, then that might be the way of gaming for the future. Maybe. From AtsumaKarin, I'm not really a fan of handheld gaming, and I despise touchscreen even more. Yeah, I completely agree. but that Android does look quite interesting. So what you're essentially saying is you like the idea of the Wii U, but don't like that it's by Nintendo. No, I like the idea of the Wii U, but I don't like the games that Nintendo put on it. That's what I mean. I don't care that it's Nintendo. I don't like Nintendo games. If they made different kinds of games, I would like it. That's what I mean. Namcos. What do you mean by not well supported on the Linux handhelds? When I was part of the GP2X scene back in the early 2000s, I did find that game or emulator support was quite strong. In fact, it was that community that managed to get a working proof of concept of the Sega 32X and the Mega Drive's kart version of Virtua Racing before it was ported over to the PSP MU scene by the same developer. If you meant OS and firmware support, well, it was fairly strong. We did have some good devs for the device, which meant that some problems that did crop up could, and in most cases were, patched by them rather than Game Park. Okay, yeah, I understand what you're saying. There are two things here that are examples of what I'm talking about. Did find that the game emulator support was quite strong. No, there were absolutely loads of emulators. Yep, can't disagree with you. But this is not... If I'm buying a portable gaming device, I want more than just emulators, and there were masses and masses and masses of emulators, but not... I want commercial software, and a lot of it by a lot of different developers, and I want it to be available in a way that is really easy and accessible. Download, play, no installation messing around, or something like that, and I want it to be from someone with a reputation, not a bedroom coder. Not the other word that you use is community. Community is great in terms of, like YouTube, we're talking back and forth. But when I buy, and I say buy, games, because if I'm buying a console, I want commercial software, and I want it to be by a commercial company, not a bunch of homebrew coders who may or may not be very, very talented. It's I like that there is homebrew, and a lot of it, and some of it is done by some very talented people, but you want solid commercial backing with it, and that is what I felt wasn't there with the Linux-based handhelds. That's not to knock any of the people who were doing stuff on it, because I'm sure they were doing great stuff, but what there didn't seem to be was commercial, proper, I wouldn't say corporate, solid backing. It was community driven, and there is a place for that, but you need more than that for a handheld that I'm going to buy. And it's also, even if the reality was completely different and there was commercial, professional, stable backing, there didn't appear to be, to me, and appearances matter for a lot. Whereas with these tablet-based things, they're on Android. You know there's a ton of stuff out there for Android. I don't even have an Android, anything at the moment, but I know that there's a massive stuff there on the Google Android store download thingamajig, whatever it is. I know there's a ton of stuff there, and it's easy to get. One click, it's on there, I can play it. It seemed there were no guarantees with these Linux handhelds, and that's why I didn't buy one. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, my perception may have been wrong, but if it was, then there was not the publicity necessary for a person like me to see it otherwise, and that matters. So it seemed amateurish, and I wasn't going to buy a piece of hardware. You know, a fairly £100, something like that. I'm not going to spend £100 on something if I don't know I can get what I want on it. I could probably talk round and round in circles, but that's how it seemed to me. Croooow111 says, tablets and phones do suck for action-orientated games, but they're excellent for puzzle-based games or games that use the touchscreen. I hate games that use the touchscreen, and I hate puzzle games. Granted, if you prefer games that use a conventional D-pad and buttons, a GBA or other dedicated portable games device would be the best. but there are games that work really well with the touchscreen and or tilt controls. I hate touchscreen, I hate tilt controls, but here we are, that Arcos thing that I showed. It's a tablet, it's got a touchscreen, it's got tilt controls, but it's also got a D-pad and face buttons and analog sticks, nubs, which is brilliant, and that's why I think that is the future, or the way of the future. Maybe not that particular device, but something like it. Tribalmasters says, are tablets just plasticky cheesy junk? M0090K, I worry about if it uses unprotected cells and is a fire hazard. I don't know about the batteries. This one is not a plasticky piece of junk. Some of them are. There are some nasty cheap things out there. This one is, the build quality is quite good. I don't know about the batteries. I've read a lot of reviews and no one has said anything about theirs catching fire. There have been other faults, usually with the screen. There have been a minority of cases where the screen hasn't been up to scratch, but there was an acknowledged fault, which is why it took ages for mine to arrive, because they knew they had a problem. They sent a batch back and got some uprated ones. So I think the M009s are quite good, but I will give a full report when I have it after Christmas. Okay, something several people commented on, NecroVMX, who I gave a shout out to in my Friday Talkie, and I had several comments saying that he was not entirely respectful of his audience, and referred to a video that he made, and I did go and watch that video, and I understand the points that were made, actually by the people who didn't like that video, and that he made in the video. It's a tricky one. I share his perspective that some things some viewers do repeatedly can be really, really, really bloody annoying, especially when you say please don't do this and people continue to do it. So I understand his frustration and annoyance, which doesn't say I thought that the video he made response into those annoyances was it's not something I would do. But yeah, I hadn't seen that when I shouted him out. Would I have shouted him out if I had seen it? I don't know. You see, I like his gameplay videos. I don't watch lots of channels to make friends with the people. I make friends with a lot of the people. Mostly I make friends with the people who come to my channel. I see his gameplay videos and how he does them, and I like them, and that's why I subscribed, and that's why I shouted him out. His attitude towards his viewers is his own. I won't defend it, I won't attack it. I like his gameplay vids, and it's for other people to decide whether they're going to subscribe or not, you know. Pocket Mego says, excellent video, Steve, thank you. These things are the future. I have long envisioned a future with one living room entertainment device with some sort of portable detachment for travelling. That is going to happen. The tablet is the next phase, and I've taken so much away from portable gaming that I've given up consoles and what little PC gaming I did altogether. I've just got Modern Combat 4, which when played with my Moga controller is a dead ringer for any Call of Duty game yet made, and it costs all of $5. I'm going to have to look up Moga controller. I'll tell you what I would like, though. Okay, 7-inch tablets need to be standardized in one design aspect. If they're all a set length, like, alright, it's a screen that's 7-inch or whatever, and I guess that's the diagonal, but anyway, if you get them all a certain length and they all have a USB along the bottom edge, you could slot them into a thing with D-pads and analog nubs that you could just slot them in and out of, and they would just need one thing all in the same place, you know, and you could have a universal controller, because I don't like the idea of having a separate controller and pad, because then where do you put the pad? I want to hold it, but I want controls, and you could have that as a detachable thing. Or if they don't have a standardized one that all tablets can fit in, then the tablet manufacturers need to make that as a standard attachment or an optional extra that's easily available. Then that could be a very powerful, it could make a very powerful gaming platform, where at the moment they have limitations. But yeah, I think it is something, the industry is looking at tablets, I think, the gaming industry, and well they should. Xbox Modder 02 says Spotify is shit. It makes you pay for low quality music that sounds nowhere as good as the real CD. Why are you paying for it? It's free. Are you paying just to get rid of the adverts? Or are you paying so you can have it on your phone or tablet or something? I only have it on my PC. I don't pay. The sound quality is perfectly acceptable for what, you know, yeah, alright, it's not CD standard, but you know what, it's so long since I played a CD, I don't notice. It sounds fine to me. I think it's bloody brilliant. I've got now, how many tunes have I got here? In my library on here, I have got 13,229 tracks. That's a lot, and I haven't paid for that, and that's a lot more tracks than I have on my CD collection, or could feasibly have, because I can't afford that. No, Spotify is not shit, it's bloody brilliant, and you only pay for it if you want it on a portable device. Zonta82 says, what kind of music do you listen to, Steve? That's a really hard one to explain. On the front page of my channel, there is a link to my Last FM radio station. Go to the front page of my channel, click that, it'll take you to my Last FM page, and you can listen to what I like to listen to. Failing that, let me have a very quick scroll through here and read to you. Let's put it in alphabetical order. Some of these are questionable, but anyway, AC/DC, Adam and the Ants, Aid Fenton, Alanis Morissette, Afro Celts, Amy MacDonald, A.R. Kane, or Tekra, or Tech, however you want to call it, B-52s, Bauhaus, Belly, Beth Orton, Big Country, Billy Idol, Blondie, Boards of Canada, Bob Mould, Brendan Perry. I actually don't know who that is. That must be one I heard and thought that sounds good and starred a whole album. 2 albums. Cat Power, Chemical Brothers, Cocteau Twins, Cranberries, Cranes, Creatures, Crystal Method, The Cult, The Cure, Curve, Dali's Car, The Damned, David Bowie, David Sylvian, Dead Can Dance, Death Cab for Cutie, Depeche Mode, The Doors, Dirty 3, Duran Duran, Elastica, Eurythmics, The Faint, The Fall, Fatboy Slim, Fields of the Nephilim, Flock of Seagulls, Fortet, Front 242, Garbage, Gary Newman, Generation X, Genesis, Goldfrapp, Grimes, Hammerbrain, I don't know who that is, that's another one I'll have discovered through Last FM and thought that sounds good and clicked it. Have to Destroy Angels, Howard Jones, Human League, Iggy Pop, Jane's Addiction, Japan, Jesus and Mary Chain, John Fox, Joy Division, Kate Bush, Kristen Hirsch, Led Zeppelin, Left Field, Low Fidelity All Stars, Loop, Lou Reed, Love and Rockets, Mary Margaret O'Hara, Massive Attack, Mazzy Star, Mick Kahn, Ministry, The Mission, Moby, Molotov Elysian, Motorhead, Mum, or Mum, Neil Young, New Order, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, 9 Inch Nails, Nirvana, Nitzareb, Oasis, OMD, Orbital, Pete Murphy, Peter Gabriel, Pixies, The Police, Portishead, Prodigy, Public Image Limited, Queen, REM, Radiohead, Recoil, which is John Wilder from Depeche Mode, Reflecting Skin, Robin Guthrie, Roxy Music, Sigur Rós, Simple Minds, Susie and the Banshees, Sinead O'Connor, Sisterhood, Sisters of Mercy, Skeletal Family, Skinny Puppy, Slowdive, Sonic Youth, Southern Death Cult, Spandau Ballet, Sparks, Spiritualized, Stone Roses, Sugar Cubes, Suzanne Vega, Swans, Talk Talk, Tears for Fears, The, This Mortal Coil, Thompson Twins, Throwing Muses, Tin Machine, Tones on Tail, Tori Amos, Toya Wilcox, Trent Reznor, U2, Ultravox, Underworld, Velvet Underground, Wedding Present, White Stripes, Yeahs. There you go. That should pretty much answer that question. Trusteft says, yeah, Android games are cheap compared to PS3 and Xbox, but is there really any comparison in game quality and size? To each his own, of course, but for me there is no comparison. If I'm at home, I might as well play on the big screen my full games than that. Also, the small letters on the agreement you agreed to for each game, there are nasty things there, allowing them to access your internet connection, address book and other stuff. Not for me, thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with you on their accessing your information and whatnot, but I wonder how many commercially available games do exactly the same thing. I don't know, but certainly PC stuff is going a long way that way. In terms of quality and game size, I think actually, having seen some videos of the stuff that's available for the Nexus 7, the quality is damn near the same. You're talking big commercial quality games, not pick up and play tiny little mini games, you know, proper big stuff. And you can plug them into your big HD TV if you want. So, you know, you can have big screen thrills. And I think things are going to go more that way. It might not be quite there yet, but I think you will be able to get big games cheaply. But you do make a fair point about the privacy and what they're snooping on and whatever. But I do think everything is going to go that way. It's not perfect. It's not as good as back on the PS2. You could buy big games, they were yours, they couldn't snoop on you, and that was probably the last time console gaming was ideal. Russell WWFC says, have you seen the JXD S7100, 1000, something? No, S7100, a Wii U style Android tablet with physical controls. Yes, I have seen it. I don't know if that's available in the UK. It's not as pretty as the Arcos thing, but yeah, it's very much the same thing, and I think that's great. And we need more things like that, most definitely. 911 Gamer says, do you think you'll bother with the portable Neo Geo? No, not. I think a couple of years ago, I made a video saying, I was talking about all these clone systems that were coming out, clone Mega Drive, clone NES, and all that, and saying, why doesn't someone make a clone Neo Geo? I would buy one, I said. What I didn't think would happen was that they would make one and it would cost £200, or is it £175? Now, granted, you get a handheld system with a dock and a big joystick and a load of games built in. That's great. But £175 is stupid. There is no way I'm going to pay that. I don't care if it says Neo Geo on it and is officially licensed or whatever. That's a stupid price and I won't pay it. So no, I won't be getting one. Kisanth75 says, I have a friend in the business and they think the console game industry only has 3 years or so left of profitability and originality. Then they will switch to mobile tablet apps and games, which is where the profit is. Yeah, I can believe that. It is, in a way, it's a shame because I love console gaming, but it's crawling at the publishers and or manufacturers are crawling up their own arse, and something's got to give. And I think mobiles, it's like just a quick thrill puzzle games and stuff like that. Angry Birds, I have still not ever played Angry Birds and probably never will, but I can see the appeal. That kind of thing works for a mobile phone. Tablet gaming, I think, has an awful lot of potential if they can design the right kind of tablets with viable controls. Your tablet can be your home console and your portable system and so much else as well. Yeah, I think that might be where the money is at. Alec Jan says, once you get everything sorted out, I'd love to see another system overview, especially something, at least something a North American would find, obscure. Yeah, I plan to do more system overviews. I just haven't had the time, or in fact inclination at the moment. I want Christmas out of the way, I want my driving lessons out of the way, and then, you know, and obviously you acknowledge that by saying once you get everything sorted out. Yeah, there will be some. The only time I will never make any more is when I've done them of every system I've got, and I'm not anywhere remotely near that. So there will be more, fear not. lilacfloyd says, I think the Android handheld gaming future will be a bit like PC gaming. There'll be a lot of different hardware devices with a lot of different specs and prices. Traditionally, we are used to having one company, i.e. Sony or Nintendo, deciding what the hardware and price will be for the next 5 or 6 years. With more tablet devices like the gamepad appearing, this will change. More competition and choice is certainly going to be interesting in the next couple of years. I completely agree. Yes, different specs. Some will become the standard, some will fall by the wayside. I don't know if it will be that. Will they push for the lowest common denominator, and the ones that are smallest and cheapest and lowest specs will be the ones that get the software made for them? Or will it be the top spec ones? I mean, the PC now, it's like, you got people like Crytek who I mean, like they did with Crysis, they developed a game for a computer that didn't even exist yet, and you it's only now you can get a gaming rig that will really play it at maximum spec, you know, maximum settings or whatever. I don't know. Will developers develop for the more powerful tablet or the least powerful? Don't know, but it will be very interesting. I hope they can find a happy sort of medium there, a good balance. Mr. Stephen182 said, you're in trouble with a cheap Chinese tablet. They're rubbish, made on the cheap and not good for touchscreens, as you are soon to find out. Should have got a 7-inch Rover for £100. We'll see. You might be right, though. That being said, what I have read, and I've read a lot of reviews about a lot of tablets, said that the Nat PC is actually really quite good. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it for this week. I need to try and keep doing them like 2 a week instead of just one of these answering comments things a week. But I didn't put out a lot of videos this week anyway, so it's less of an issue. But thank you very much for watching, and more soon. Okay, where's my off button? There.